I never felt like I was good enough or I had the capabilities to be a leader or to have a team or to lead from the front. I built this fucking strong wall that no one could break down. No one. I built it to protect myself and accepting that it's okay not to know and accepting that I need help.
We respect them enough to honestly say to them, this is not good enough, or we know that you can do better, or this does not meet our standards. The reason why I'm giving you this feedback is because I care about you and I want the best for you. So Mick, welcome to the Mindset Mill podcast. I'm so freaking excited to have you here because it's not like you've traveled halfway across the world to be here.
I am so excited to be here. I'm so ready for this.
I mean, you haven't traveled specifically for this episode, but let's pretend like you have done because...
Yeah, Mill's flown me all the way out from Oz. It's been a journey.
Well, thank you for joining me. We're going to talk some really awesome things today. And to give context to the listeners, just explain what you do so that they understand why I'm so blessed and privileged to have you on this episode today.
So I own a female dominant coaching company. My team and us, we help transform women's lives, Australia, globally, and we're so freaking blessed to do so.
And it is impressive to the extent of how much you transform not only the lives of the people who work with you for their physique health result, but also you have a very sizable team now working with you. If you don't mind, how many people do you have as part of the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a company of 10.
It's honestly been amazing seeing how fast you have grown and how well you have grown. Like, it's very inspiring, and that's why I wanted to get you on here today, because there's something that it takes for a woman to fight societal norms to get to the stage where you are not only inspiring women, transforming their lives through health and fitness and through mindset, but then also running a team that is, ever growing and, to be honest, like, just impressively developing from not only a standard of coaching, but also how to run a business that is where you look after the people within that company to the very best of your ability. Because a lot of the things that we've spoken about, it's about being a leader and showing up with the type of energy that you need to have a leader. And so I think for us to talk about where you've got to and what's grown you to this spot, we need to talk about where you started. So when it comes to your earliest memory of what you feel like has influenced you getting to where you are today, could you cast your mind back and describe that?
Whew, Jesus. Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of, I would say, influential people. But I never felt like I was going to become that person. I never felt like I was good enough or I had the capabilities to be a leader or to have a team or to lead from the front. I had people surrounding me, but I never saw myself actually being that person. And I think that I lived a lot of my childhood, a lot of my, teenage years, believing that that was me, that was my reality, that was my identity. Until I met my partner now, Russell, who I run the business with. And he's honestly been the biggest influence on my entire life. He's shown me that if I want something, I can bloody well get it. And if I work hard enough and if I get back up, no matter how many times I get knocked back down, I've got this in the bag. So yeah, I think that the biggest turning point for me was meeting my partner and the co-founder of Coaching Society.
So up until that point where you say you'd been around influential people, were you nurtured to believe in yourself, to achieve what you wanted to achieve throughout life? Or do you feel like it was perhaps the opposite, where it wasn't the case and you had to really fight to be able to get to that mentality now?
I had to fight tooth and nail. I was surrounded by a lot of men. I was always the youngest, and I wasn't backed. And I think as a result, I didn't back myself. So being in the position that I am now, it's still a massive, holy fuck, this is me, I'm doing this. But yeah, I haven't been backed my life. I've had people who have supported me, but I've also had people who have fake supported me. And I think that now I use that as a driving force to be the person that I am today.
Fake support. What do you mean by that?
They want you to do well, but they don't want you to do any better than them.
It's scary how often through life you can go and almost realize that people that you thought were on your side are not on your side. When you found out that people are giving fake support or that they weren't truly invested in your best interests, how do you respond to that? How do you move forwards with that? Because it's pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah. Funny you ask that. If you asked me that maybe 5 years ago, I would cry. I'd literally be heartbroken. Ask me that now, I don't have a problem in saying goodbye. Like, I can cut ties now, but it's taken a long time for me to get there. But now I have a social network that supports me like you wouldn't believe. And I think that's one of the main reasons that I am in the position that I am in today. I have friends and family that would fight tooth and nail for my success as well. And I think that you attract people that you want to be, and that's what I've attracted, and I'm incredibly blessed for that. And I do think that's one of the main reasons that we've found the amount of success that we've had.
And when it comes to the transition that you went through, I suppose, between having that time frame where you were still giving time and attention and energy to the people that gave you that fake support, and maybe you might have had an inkling, you might have known about it, versus getting to the stage now where you say, if something isn't serving me, I'm going to cut ties. I'm going to have difficult conversations, or I'm just going to move on. What was that transition? Because that's got to be a big change in your mindset, or perhaps how much you're valuing yourself. You know, was there a trigger for that, or was there anything notable that happened to get you to that stage?
I think that I'm going to pull this back to my partner, Russell. He opened my eyes to my ability as a young entrepreneur, and that if I want to get from A to B, if I need to bridge that gap, this is how I've got to do it. And no matter what I do, I've got his support. So I think having someone in my corner that I know he was stable, he was there for me, no matter what decision I made, that gave me the confidence to cut those ties and be the person that I knew I was capable of doing, but I lacked the confidence to actually take that step. So, yeah.
That's just defining how important it is to have the right type of people around you. So before you got to that stage where, you know, you're able to cut ties with anyone who doesn't serve you, you surround yourself with lots of positive and inspirational people. When you were younger and you were starting on your fitness journey, what was your vision? Like, where were you headed?
Again, it's another really good question because I had no fucking idea. Literally no idea. Like, I think about it now and like thinking about recording this podcast with you, I was like, she's probably going to ask me what was my vision. I didn't fucking know. Like, I literally had no idea. Like, I just took day by day until I didn't want to do that anymore. And I knew that if I put my mind to something and if I worked really fucking hard, I don't know if I can swear by the way, but I am.
You definitely can. There is all of the most colourful language on here.
If I worked really fucking hard, that I could do it and that I could have a vision. And if I say, give me 5 years and I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing this. Like, no matter what. And if I can get there sooner, then amazing. Like, watch me do it. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of attitude that I have now. But again, if you spoke to, say, like the 17-year-old Mick back then, fuck, I didn't even know what I was having for dinner.
So that's really impressive because I see you as someone that's got so much clarity and so much drive when it comes to knowing exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. You're definitely one of the most creative people that I know. Like, as we were talking about in a cab the other day, you were talking about the importance of creative time. Yeah. And I was thinking when you said, you know, you didn't know what you're having for dinner, that's a very big contrast. So do you feel like you found clarity as you went through your journey of fitness, perhaps of business, finding out what you didn't like to get you to the position now where you do have such clarity?
I do think that fitness played a massive role. I think that back then, you know, 17-year-old Mick, like I I didn't have a vision. I didn't have clarity, and I wasn't healthy. Like, I wasn't looking after myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, nothing. Like, I see myself as a very sad, insecure girl who didn't know what she wanted. And then I started on like my health and fitness journey. And to start with, like, absolutely, it was just physical, like every girl's is, right? Like, they just want to look good, yeah. And that got me into it as like my entry point. And then I realized that for me to be the person I want to be, it has to be more than physical. That's where I had to really dig deep into my psyche and my vision and my mission and the people that I wanted around me to be able to get there. Because that person, that 17-year-old Mick, she didn't have the right people around her. She didn't feel supported. She had no vision. She didn't look after herself physically, mentally, emotionally. She was just lost, I guess. And yeah, I think that it's a very emotional like journey for me, and I feel like it is every time I reflect, like it hits a chord for me, because I didn't ever imagine that I would be in the position that I am now. So yeah.
When did your love for the process of taking care of yourself change? Because if it wasn't there at the start, is it because you didn't know how, or because you didn't reap the rewards of having gone through that process and learning how to do it?
Good question. I didn't have the resources. I definitely didn't know how, and I didn't want to. Like I said, Mil, I was a train destined for nothing. Like, that was me. I didn't have a passion. I didn't have a drive. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to uni because I thought that was the norm. I did a year of uni. I left uni. I was nothing. Like, I was truly nothing. So yeah, I found my passion for fitness. I cut some ties and I became the person that I am today through, finding myself within that process.
So if someone's listening to this and they feel very much so in the position where you were, destined for nothing, they don't really know what brings them joy, they don't really know what brings them happiness. In hindsight, is there any advice that you would give to your younger self to give her some more clarity and some direction?
Yeah. I would say I wish that if I could take it back to then, I wish that I could tell myself to be more emotionally available, do a little bit more soul searching, because I think that growing up, I had like a pretty, like as many people do, like a pretty rough upbringing. So I built this fucking strong wall that no one could break down. No one, not my closest friends, family, nothing. I built it to protect myself. And I think that was growing up, that was my biggest mistake, because I wasn't emotionally aware. I wasn't emotionally available, and I didn't want to look any deeper because I was scared as to what I would find underneath. And then, like I said, Russell, my partner now, he broke those walls down, and it was confronting, and I fucking hated it. I hated every second of it, but we went through a lot of shit early in our relationship for him to do that. And once he broke that wall down, I think that's where both of us saw what I was capable of once I became emotionally available, and once I did a little bit more digging and knew what I was capable of. And then he's been able to harness that in me. So he always saw me as like someone who could always do it. He just needed to put me on the right path. And since putting me on the right path, I haven't fucking stopped, and I won't.
I freaking love it. And definitely can understand that sense of putting up a wall to protect yourself from harm, from failure, from all of those different types of things that we don't want to go through because they're painful. But you've also then said how you've learned that actually cutting ties or removing people from your life, so what is technically a painful situation, has a benefit and a silver lining, as does failing. Because if we don't fail at least once a day, then we're probably not failing enough to learn to get to where we want to be. So has your perception of failure, of those instances where you do have to go through some type of pain, has it changed now to where it's more so like, I don't know, ripping a Band-Aid off for the fact that it will benefit you?
Yeah. Pain is good. pain is growth. And we tell this to our clients. It's like when they're training in the gym. Like, if you're sitting too comfortable, then you're not going to get from A to B. I can guarantee you that now. It's very much so the same sense for us in business. Like, I'm not like coaching as much as I used to anymore, but I still use those techniques that I've learned through my own training journey in business. I've got to be uncomfortable. I need to experience pain. And I do think that the position that we're in now as a company is a result of a lot of pain and a lot of setbacks and a lot of, favorable situations, I guess. So yeah, I'm not scared of pain anymore. But the 17-year-old me, she was fucking petrified to the point where she wouldn't even look at it dead in the eye.
Yeah, it's where you're stuck in that really comfortable phase of your life, and then it completely flips to where you're seeking discomfort. You're just like, what risk can I take? How can I put myself in a more difficult position? So do you feel like there are any traits from that time where you were more protective, or you were you were less emotionally available? Do any of those traits serve you now as a CEO, as a company owner, where you do have to, lead people, where you do have to be the face of strength? Is there anything that you've carried forward from that time that is actually beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's funny you say this, because just recently, maybe in the last 6 months, I've gone through a massive shift within the way that I run the company. So when we first started, again, I went from this super scared, drivenless little girl who was fearful of being uncomfortable. And then I thought that to be successful, especially a woman in this industry, a young woman as well, I'm only 24, and our entire staff, I'm the youngest of everyone. To be successful, I had to be fucking hard. And I had to put up another wall, but a different wall that was emotionless. So I had emotions, but I hid them. I broke them down. And then to be successful, or what I deemed as successful, I rebuilt that wall to be a really hard person. So I didn't have emotion. And I think to get us off the ground, running a business, again, being a woman in business, I needed it. I needed to have a thick skin. But just recently, now that we lead a team and I'm a leader, I had to bring those walls down myself. Russ couldn't do that for me, and I had to be vulnerable. I had to be vulnerable and learn pain and learn emotion to be able to lead, to be able to connect to my team. And I've made some mistakes. Absolutely, I've made mistakes as being too hard in the sense that, I was emotionless. Yeah, no one felt comfortable around me. Whereas now I've broken those walls down, and people seek comfort in me because I've told them my story, because I've been there. I know what it feels like. I've built up walls, I've pulled them down. I've built up walls and I've pulled them down again. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons that our business is where it is today. And it's because women confide in me. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think that, to answer your question, there are a lot of traits from that 17-year-old girl that I have brought up now, just recently in the last 6 months. And that is vulnerability, and that's softness, and that's being gentle and balancing being driven and masculine, but also being feminine and gentle and soft. And I think that balance is kind of what's led me to our most recent success.
I love that, because one thing that a lot of people will be able to resonate with, a lot of the women listening to this, whether they are high performing women, whether they're parents, sometimes you've got to show up with that face of everything is going to be fine. Everything is fine, no matter how not fine it is. And no matter how inside you might be screaming, right? Because you're dealing with some unbearable stress. Or people often forget when they're working within a company, or they're, working with a service-based business. We're humans too. We have a lot of things that will be going on behind the scenes. And you've got to show up with the masculine energy in a way not to panic people, but also there is that feminine side that we have to bring out where we've got to connect with others. Because you mentioned you couldn't form perhaps the relationships that you needed to get the most out of your team members as a result of the fact that you weren't able to balance those appropriately, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something which is really difficult to change. How did you go about changing that?
I had a vision, and I spoke to Russ about my vision, and I spoke to some of my closest girlfriends about my vision. And I think as an outsider looking in, like the closest people to me, like they know me so well, and sometimes too well. They had to tell me like straight to my face, and I didn't want to fucking hear it because I'm this big, strong, no one can hurt me. I run a business. I'm not vulnerable, whatever. So yeah, them sitting down and being like, you are strong and you are driven. You wouldn't have built the business that you have if you didn't have that. But if you want to get to that next level, you have to be vulnerable. You have to show that side to you that they knew that I had. So like Russ, my family members, my closest girlfriends, they knew that I was soft and I was gentle and I'm actually a really nice person. And if I actually show that, then it's going to unlock something for me that is going to be incredible. And I think that's the shift that we've made in the last 6 months, is me learning that I can be dominant and I can be masculine and I can run a good business, but I can also be soft and I can be gentle and I can be relatable. And I think that's what our clients, love about us, and what we teach our coaches to be like as well, is we can assert dominance and we can be the leader, but we can also be one of them.
I think the dominance and the authority that we advise our colleagues, employees with, along with our clients, is as a sign of respect, because we respect them enough to honestly say to them, this is not good enough, or we know that you can do better, or this does not meet our standards. And when there's that reciprocal relationship where you've said to, whether it's a client or a staff member, to say, the reason why I'm giving you this feedback is because I care about you and I want the best for you. So it might not be the easiest to hear, but,
yeah.
And then you do the shit sandwich, right?
Yes.
So that's been one of the biggest lessons for me, is actually framing the reason why we are how we are. I don't know about you, but I've had a lot of work to do on myself with the fact that I've always been worried about how people might perceive that masculine energy, or being abrupt, or being very, almost cold sometimes in a professional sense. Has that ever bothered you?
Yeah, internally, yeah. I think that when you put up this facade, it becomes your reality, and that it's like poison. It leaks into every relationship in your life, yeah? It started to leak into every relationship that I had. I didn't have emotion. I'm like, cool, you're hurting? Sweet. I've got this wall up. So, yeah, it started to affect a lot in my life personally as well. So that's why I knew another reason that I had to pull this thing down.
The way that you've shown that vulnerability, I would definitely say I've noticed it through social media, because there have been instances where you've been struggling, whether it's mentally, physically, and you've spoken out about it. What positives has that brought?
To sum it up in one word, comfort. And I think that from our clients and the kinds of people that we attract, people know that I'm just like them. Like I have mental breakdowns, probably more than I want to admit.
It's all part of running a business.
Yeah.
And being a woman.
Yeah, I get sad. I suffer with anxiety. Like I can get in super depressive states. Like I go through that, but I've learnt that being vulnerable is so fucking powerful. And teaching people and showing people and leading a team that you can be vulnerable, but you can be powerful, I think it's the best trait or the best teaching you can ever give anyone.
And has it helped you to get more of the support which you feel at those times you've needed?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, my social circle, it's small, but it is incredible and it is mighty. Like, I truly don't believe that I would be in the position that I am in today if I didn't have my girlfriends, if I didn't have Russ, the people who were in my corner, my family that believed in me. So, yeah.
I love that. There is something about not only having the right type of help, but becoming comfortable enough to accept it. And it's definitely something that, as you say, you know, you've softened, you've leaned into more of that feminine energy, that those things, you know, often will come hand in hand because it feels like you've got more support available. And ultimately, for the longevity of being a business owner, of having great mental health and actually having a life that's worth living, you need that. You need that 100%. Which takes me on to ask about your relationship with Russ. You've mentioned him a couple of times. One of the things that I hear a lot of people say is, I don't know if I could ever run a business with my partner. Yeah, you guys have a very impressive business and a lot of people that you help. How the hell do you do it?
If I had $1 for every time someone asks me this, how do we do it? We fucking love it. It is our life. It is all that we talk about. And I don't mean that in an unhealthy way. We love our life. We love each other. We love what we bring to the table. And as a team, we're really freaking powerful. And I know that. And I know that I wouldn't be where I am today in business without Russ, and Russ wouldn't be where he is in business without me. Our team wouldn't be as well established as what they are without us together. So we're a team, and we balance each other out. We're yin and yang, yeah? Like, he's very level-headed, like very chill, probably too chill. Whereas I'm chaos. I'm very chaotic, and our team members know how like chaotic I am. So we balance each other out if he was very much so like me, I don't know if we could do it, but we're different. We're very different, but we complement each other so well. And I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else, to be honest.
I absolutely adore that. Yeah, seeing you guys together, he is Mr. Logical and you're like Mrs. Creative. Yeah. And it blends together in the most impressive and phenomenal way. And you guys remind me of Alex and Layla Hormozy, where, you know what, it's unconventional, right? It's unconventional to work together to such an extent and for your whole lives to be the same thing that you do. But you said that you guys love it and it works. Yeah. And that's what's beautiful, is the fact that you can own something, which is, you know, to most people, as they say, I could never do that, but it works so well. And I think an important question to ask, especially for a lot of the women who do listen, they are, you know, high performers, high achievers in certain demanding jobs, as will their partners be. You know, there is that fine balance for our mental health and the health of our relationships, of balancing the work side of things and then the personal side of things. Have you had any lessons that have been quite important to you over the past few years as your business has grown and you and Russ's relationship has developed?
I think learning to accept his help when I need it has been the biggest thing. Like I said, growing up, I was very scared. I was very timid. I didn't have any motivation, drive to do anything with my life, to the point where I didn't want to get judged from that. So I built up that wall to be like, I don't really care. Like, I'm so chill. I was not chill. I am not chill still.
So something that changed or that taught you that there was a difference between, I suppose, your professional lives and your personal lives, and being able to establish that quality time on either side. Was there anything notable that had happened, or any things that you guys have implemented to help you with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Accepting that it's okay not to know, and accepting that I need help. So I think one of the best things about Russ and I is we know when to push and we know when to pull. If I need to pull back because my mental health is plummeting, my anxiety is bad, he can step up. He steps up for me, he steps up for the business, he steps up for everything. And vice versa. If Russ needs to pull, then I need to push. And I think that's where we like complement each other so well, because we know each other so well. And we've been doing this our entire relationship. Like, we have run a business together for 2.5 years, I think it is now, but we also managed a gym together for the first year of our relationship. So like we know each other's triggers and we know where we need to help one another.
I love that. So that's like a common thread throughout. So you're always there to support each other. And is that type of push and pull mechanism, or I suppose it's on a balance where you guys might shift your intensity and effort in different departments of your relationship and then in business? And I think something that's important for us to touch on is that there will be times for yourself where you might need a little bit more support or a little bit more focus on health, because you struggle with endo. Like, that's a big part of your life, and it's one of the common themes that we're seeing now spoken about more and more on social media as women become more knowledgeable about female health, but also because the diagnoses now of endometriosis, it's 1 in 10 women. So that's something that I'm interested to know. How do you function? How do you get through day-to-day life, you know, all of that high pressure, whilst some days you can really be struggling? So is there anything that you would say has been pivotal when it comes to you learning, aside from accepting Russ's help, to be able to deal with having endo and, you know, accepting that? Is there anything that's changed within, I suppose, your perception of a chronic illness or a chronic disease?
Yes, absolutely. I think I was diagnosed 7 years ago now. But when I was diagnosed, I would say for the first 5 years of having the condition, it became my identity. It was me. I had endo. I couldn't go out with my girlfriends if there was just even an inkling bit of pain, because it was going to turn into a massive flare. I couldn't have intimate relationships because it was painful. It became my identity to the point where I didn't do anything. I do think this is one of the main reasons that I was such a drivenless, scared girl growing up, because I thought my condition, my endometriosis, it was my life. So I think once I did some more digging into my condition and how I was going to manage it, and took it into my own hands, and figured that it wasn't my identity, that it's not just my reality, that's when things changed for me. So when I am super stressed, when I'm not coping very well mentally, normally that's where I get a flare. So that's where Russ will stand up for me. But in saying that, if I wake up one morning and I'm like, oh, something doesn't feel right, I don't just go back to bed and be like, no, that's it. Like, that's, my day's gone. It's not my identity anymore. I've grown through that to be the person that I am now. Because, fuck, there's not a chance in hell I'd be where I am today if I let endometriosis rule my life.
How do you find the balance, though, to know when to be disciplined versus when to show yourself that compassion?
I think my body knows. Like, when I have a flare, like, I can't move. Like, that's it. That's me done. If I know that it's manageable, and this is where it's very different to when I was younger, when I couldn't manage it, I would have like a little bit of pain, and that would derail me for a whole week. Whereas now, I suppose, when I do have the flare, I've got Russ's support. He can step up for me. But when I have a bit of pain, I can push through. So I can show myself compassion when I need compassion, when I truly need it, and when I'm not just like, this is just my life now. But I can also stand up and just carry on when I need to.
And how do you perceive that in respect to your own fitness goals, your own training goals? Because this is commonly something that a lot of our clients will struggle with. They'll say they don't know how to find that fine line between, okay, is it just slight pain and I can kind of push through and get what I need to done, or do I need to show myself that rest? Have you found a balance with that?
I have found, to be fair, like, I'm always going to be a work in progress. Like, I'm still learning to manage a chronic condition and be in like a high stress environment. There's not a day that I wake up and I'm like in full control. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm still working on it. And I don't think I'm ashamed to admit that either. Like, I haven't found balance.
It's tough. It's tough, right? I can relate from my digestive condition that sometimes the paralysis for myself will almost be a little bit more around the anxiety of what if it turns into something worse, as if the flare turns out worse, or, oh, I don't feel very well, so maybe I shouldn't train because it might make me feel worse. And sometimes I feel like what actually makes us feel physically and mentally worse is not doing the things that we usually would do each day, until it's at the point where actually you think, do you know what? Even though I've tried, I'm still not feeling the benefits. And so it's probably a point of pulling back. But you're right, there is no perfect, and it's different each time. So it is really a fine balance. One of the things that I'm interested to know is, when you first went through the diagnosis or figuring out that you had endo, where was your mindset there? Because it can be quite a worrying time. It can be quite a time of confusion, especially when it comes to people who can often catastrophize. The reason why I ask is some of our clients are going through the process of figuring out that they're to be diagnosed or to find out how it's going to impact the rest of their lives. And there's a lot of emotions that go on during that time. So how was that time for you?
It was hard. It was really freaking hard. I think that being the person I am, like, I overthink everything. So I was diagnosed, and the first thing that came to my mind was, am I going to be able to have kids one day? Like, maybe I should push my maternal instincts down to the point where I actually don't want kids anymore because of the fear of me not being able to have kids. That's like straight away where my mind went to. And I was probably there for a few years. I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons that, like, I became really hard, because I'm like, I'm not maternal. Like, I'm never going to be able to have kids. Like, I've got this condition. It's me. It's my identity. It's me for the rest of my life. So yeah, pulling that down was hard, but it's made me realize that, like, I can have kids and I will have kids. And if I can't, I'll fucking find a way.
I absolutely love it. Just the mindset of a warrior, where it's gone from, I suppose, feeling very timid and shy to now being like, there is nothing that you can put in front of me that I won't be able to do. And so that's why I'm curious to ask, what are your goals right now in different domains of life, whether it's business and fitness? Like, what do you see for yourself over the next few years?
Yeah, good question. My goal personally is I want to enjoy more time with Russ. When you do run a business with your partner, it does consume you, and, like, we love it. Like, we absolutely love it, but there's times in our life where we've been like, fuck, it'd be cool just to sit here and just enjoy each other's company without talking about work. Do you know what I mean? So professionally, over the next 5 years, Russ and I would love to reshift and focus on us a little bit to a degree, but as well as that, we fucking love our job, and I don't think we're going to slow down anytime soon. So I say that now, but give us like 5 years time, we'll probably be still in the absolute trenches, climbing like tooth and nail to get to where we want to be. But in like an ideal situation, we would love to really hone in on the parts of a relationship that I don't think we've been able to explore yet, because we've run a business our entire relationship. So professionally and personally, I feel like that kind of meshes. And then I suppose within the business, like, fuck, I love what we do. Like, I'm sure you can relate to this, but when you change a person's life and they explain to you the impact that you've had on their life, it's spine tingling. Like, I get goosebumps talking about it now. There's been so many occasions on like our retreats or, like our client meetups that there are tears. And like, again, I've learnt that it's okay to be emotional. I learnt that it's okay to cry, but every time I talk about it, fuck, like I'm holding back tears. Every time I talk to a client about the way that we've changed their life, like, it's insane. So I don't think I'm ever going to stop chasing that feeling. If it's not directly through me coaching them, if it's through our coaches coaching them, I know that I've still played a role and I'll still sit there and be their biggest supporter. So I just want to keep feeling that feeling. It's like, it's the best high you'll ever experience is when you change someone's life. So yeah, we're going to keep growing our business globally, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing and chasing that feeling.
I think what's been absolutely fascinating is seeing the depths to which you do that develop, because I completely resonate with that. You see those messages pop up on your phone, or you hear a client, whether it's on a catch-up call or a testimonial, and they have literally morphed into a whole new person we've added years onto their life, and we've helped them actually be able to draw so much positivity out of life through their perception. There are so many benefits to that. But you guys have taken it up another notch, you know, where you've mentioned your retreats. They are phenomenal. And so that's something where you don't necessarily fit the typical mold of other coaching companies. And I think that's due to how creative you are. And when you do give, you know, your creative brain that space to, you know, thrive, and you've got Russ there to support and put it into action, right? Then you have this incredible development of something that, as I say, it doesn't quite fit the typical mold. So why is that the case? Like, do you feel like you think differently to other coaching companies, or do you grab inspiration from other people that you've seen do certain things? I'm interested to know that.
Inspiration, yes, but I'm all about creating our own narrative. So if we have an idea and I think that it may work, we're going to put it in play. So like the retreats, like they're done, they're absolutely done, but I don't think that they're done in the way that we do them, in such like a tight knit community with just our clients. So yeah, I do take inspiration from other coaching companies, and like especially being in Australia, like there's some phenomenal coaches out there that I look up to, but I'm not going to mold my business off theirs. I'm going to create my own, and I'm going to be different. Like we're going to be different. And I think that's what we pride ourselves on. And to talk about like more in depth about the retreats and changing people's lives and whatnot, there's been like a few occasions for us. And I think that this is obviously like a massive trigger for me, that we've helped women be able to conceive. And for me, again, like talking about it, I get goosebumps because it's something that I've struggled with, and I still have the fear. Yeah. So being able to talk to women on those retreats that get really, really freaking deep and emotional about how they're pregnant or they're expecting their first baby or anything like that, that's so fucking special to me. And I feel like that's why we do what we do. And on the days that I don't want to go to work, on the days that I'm like, fuck this is too hard, like this is my 17th mental breakdown for the week, I can't do this anymore, I'm reminded of that. And in my office, I actually have one of my clients that I've been working with for almost 2 years now. She had problems with like conceiving and having PCOS. And I remember her call with me, and she said, all I want is to be able to have my miracle baby. And for me, I was like, ooh, that hit me in the heart. So I made it my personal responsibility to, no matter what I did, I was going to get her to there. And then she wrote me a card on one of these in-person events. It's one of our photo shoots, actually, thanking me. And to this very day, like that's what we've done. And I think that's why I love doing what we do and working with women.
It's your sense of purpose, right? It's that thing which perhaps when you were younger you thought was your weakness has become your drive and your sense of purpose because of how much it means to you to transform the lives of women. And where you say you get goosebumps and it's spine tingling, like that's because spiritually it's really connecting with you. And a lot of people, I think, can get carried away with building a business to the point where they don't reflect on their sense of purpose. They don't actually spend that time acknowledging and connecting with their sense of purpose. So my question is, do you do anything specifically, aside from having things on your desk and, you know, in your office to like look at, do you do anything to draw you back to the reason why all of this started in the first place? Or do you feel like that carries with the momentum of the business?
It carries with the momentum of the business, but as well as that, with every single one of our clients, I still play an active role in their journey. So I think talking to them and communicating with them, and, you know, even though they mightn't be coached by me anymore or coached by me altogether, I still play a role in their life. I still play a role in their transformation, no matter if it's just one message or being able to meet them on the retreats or connecting with them on Instagram or our platform or anything like that. That's how I stay in tune with my purpose, is still talking to them and still knowing that I play a role in their transformation.
It's hard to do as you develop throughout a business, and it's something that feels a little bit uncomfortable at first, where I suppose you have to have a bit more of a bird's eye view of everything that's going on. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of adapting. And it's something where you seem to have taken that in your stride and still managed to oversee everything, as you say, to the point where you do feel like you've got that personal connection with each person. And that's as a result of you being bold and standing out and doing things in the way that you want to do things and to run the coaching society that you have. It's phenomenally impressive. And one of the most important things that I think is really important for the listeners is understanding that actually there's a big difference when it comes to just going with a community or a company where they're very results driven versus having that family feel. And I feel like that's one of your most unique selling points, but also what makes you guys stand out. Is that something that naturally started from the beginning, or have you put a lot of love and care into that aspect of building this impressive community?
We're 100% community driven. Like our CS community means everything to us. So I think that we went into business wanting that. Like that was the ideal picture. We're like, we'll build this like big coaching company. We'll all be friends. Like we'll have like, such a tight knit community. And it's like we manifested it, I would say. Like we wanted it. And then it started evolving. Our community started gelling. Everyone started supporting one another to the point where us coaches, we could kind of sit back and be like, this is it. This is what we've created. So yeah, we've actively seeked it, I guess. But I'd never thought that it would be the position, like would be in the position that we are in now, that it is as tight as what it is now.
It's phenomenal. And as your friend, I'm so freaking proud of you because it's beautiful to see. And the reason why I say it's beautiful is because a lot of people can get caught up in what an image of success is. And yes, to be on paper successful, however you wish to define that by, the size of a company or how much you're excelling. But the beauty is the fact that, as you say, that community thread, that streak of those people who you really care about are getting more and more support. You're developing the community in a way which is just inspiring. It truly is inspiring. I'm so freaking proud because that's your sense of purpose shining through. And even though, as you say, you've gone through a lot of self-development, you're in the most phenomenal position now. And I just can't wait to see what you achieve in the next few years. And I'm very grateful to have been able to have you on this episode and to grill you for all of your incredible knowledge and all of your development. I appreciate it so much.
No, thank you for having me. It's been nice to actually talk about it to someone other than Russ.
I'm sure that we'll get Ross on here at some point and see what the other coin says.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin. Where can people find you, Mick, so that they can follow you on socials?
Absolutely. So we have Coaching Society on Instagram. Just one word, Coaching Society. That's our coaching company. And then I am just coach.michaelastall as my own personal page. But to be fair, Coaching Society is where it's at, if I'm being honest.
I'll pop them in the description box below so that everyone can find it. But once again, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
You're the best.